Well, that was an interesting race. Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. My name is Liam, if you didn't know already, and today I'm going to be reviewing the 2022 Bahrain Grand Prix. I didn't say 2021 this time because, unlike last time, I'm focusing a bit more. So yeah, the 2022. Knew I was going to say it. 2022 Bahrain Grand Prix. So, if you missed my qualifying review, I'll leave a link in the description. This is a sort of sequel to that. So yeah. So Charles Leclerc started on pole position. Second was Max Verstappen, and third was Carlos Sainz. And the most surprising starting position was Kevin Magnussen, who was starting in 7th place. Now that was the most interesting development, however. The most interesting one was how McLaren had gone from, in the previous season, fighting for podiums and even winning a race with Daniel Ricciardo and almost winning a race with Lando Norris, to not even being near the points. So the race started. Charles Leclerc led into turn 1 ahead of Max Verstappen and he was just about ahead of Carlos Sainz. And Kevin Magnussen had a very good start, as did Lewis Hamilton. Hamilton started 5th and got past Sergio Perez, and at one point was going side by side with Magnussen heading into turn 4. Two drivers who had good starts as well were Yuki Sunoda and Kevin Magnussen, like I said. But there was one particular driver who had an absolutely abysmal start, Valtteri Bottas. He started 6th, and by the end of the first lap, he was about 15th. Yeah, things didn't particularly go well for Valtteri at the start of the race. Meanwhile, Yuki Sunoda had made a fantastic start, like I said, going from 16th on the grid to around 11th. The Alpines were at the bottom of the top 10, and right at the back were the Williams, the Latifi, the 2 McLarens, and the 2 Aston Martins. So the race went on. Leclerc still led from Verstappen. He got a gap out, and then the round of pit stops came. And this was when the race started to get a lot more interesting, because when Leclerc pitted, he pitted after Verstappen, and Verstappen got an undercut on him and caught right up, so much so that they were battling for the race lead for quite a bit of the next couple of laps. Max got past twice, however, because of the DRS, Charles managed to get back through again. Then the race kept going on. Charles eventually pulled a gap out on Max, and then Carlos was 3rd. But then the chaos begun. On lap 44, Pierre Gasly had an engine failure, and this caused the safety car to be released. Now, because of this, everyone pitted for a 3rd time, except for Mick Schumacher, because, Haas are Haas. And at this point, the order was Leclerc, Verstappen, Sainz, Perez, Hamilton, Russell, Magnussen. By the end of the race, it was completely different. And I'll get on to that, because after the pit stops, Verstappen thought there was an issue with his car. His team dismissed this, thinking there wasn't an issue with his car, when all along there was. Because on lap 54, while battling with Sainz for 2nd place on the safety car restart, Verstappen conked out. This meant that the order was now Leclerc, Sainz, Perez, Hamilton, Russell, Magnussen, Bottas, and then I don't remember the rest of the order. I think it was Ocon, Tsunoda, Alonso, Zhou, but I could be wrong. And on lap 56, Perez had the same problem, because like Verstappen, he slowly but surely fell down the order. And this meant that for the first time since 2019, Ferrari had a 1-2. And for the first time since 2019, Charles Leclerc took a Grand Prix victory. An emotional one for the Scuderia, because they hadn't won since 2019, their biggest gap for a win since the 1980s. I cannot believe how they went from, in 2020, being 6th place, being a joke to everyone, people going, oh, spin auto, oh, Ferrari master plan, to them now having a 1-2 finish in the first race of the 2022 season. And by some miracle, despite having the third quickest car, Lewis Hamilton ended up third, George Russell fourth, and then we have one of the most interesting stories, which was Kevin Magnussen finishing 5th place, comfortably as well, from Valtteri Bottas, who had an amazing race in the Alfa Romeo. And all I'm going to say is, well done to Haas, and well done to Kevin Magnussen, because I don't even know what to say apart from well done to both of them, because it was an amazing race from Kevin. It was an amazing race from Haas in general. Mick finished 11th, just outside the points. If he had pitted, maybe he might have gotten points. I guess we'll never know. But Haas are looking good this year. I think out of all the teams, them and Alpine and Alfa Romeo are the best of the rest. And we'll get onto Alfa Romeo in a minute. More specifically, their second driver, Zhou Guanyu. But first we got Valtteri Bottas, who, again, well done to Valtteri. An amazing drive. He had a really, really poor start. He started where he finished, but that doesn't tell the story. He started 6th, he had a horrible start, dropped right down the order, and ended up, I think, 13th or 14th, but just ahead of the Haas Schumacher, and just ahead of his teammate, Zhou Guanyu. And then the chaos started, and he capitalised on it. He had a really good restart, he made a couple of places up, and he managed to get back into the order because Alfa Romeo produced a good strategy. And this led them to get double points, but I'll get onto that in a minute. Esteban Ocon in 7th. Well, this is an interesting one because on the first lap he had a collision with Mick Schumacher. By the way, full credit goes to Mick for somehow not hitting someone else when doing this incredible pirouette that he performed. He got a 10. Yeah, Ocon got a 5-second penalty, which was completely fair. I agreed with that, and yet he still finished 7th from 11th on the grid. Again, hats off to him for that. He also capitalised on the restart, made up a couple of places. It also helps that 3 of the drivers in front of him had DNF'd, so he had gotten 3 places from that. Yuki Sunoda, I mean, I can't really say much about this drive. I think it was a bit of an underrated performance from him. Started 16th, made his way up the order, ended up 11th by the end of the first lap, and by the end of the race ended up in 8th. I mean, I can't really say much more about that. Good performance from him. If he continues these sort of performances, he's going to be on Gasly's tail this season, and right up there with him. Alonso in 9th, Fernando Alonso. I'd say it was a poor performance from him, mainly because the team put him on the wrong strategy. He was really struggling with the tyres, and yeah, he just generally did not feel comfortable out there. And now, ladies and gentlemen, Zhou Guanyu, I should say, becomes the 66th driver in Formula 1 history out of 700 drivers to score points on his debut, and as Rookie of the Year. But in all seriousness, this was an absolutely great drive from him. He made his way up the order, he passed who he needed to, and just stayed consistent throughout the rest of the race. He was only a bit off of Bottas, and was very good. You know, I was not expecting him to do this well. I was expecting him to be languishing at the bottom with Nicholas Latifi, but he has proved me wrong on that very much. Mick Schumacher in 11th. I was really hoping he'd get points. I'm not a fan of anyone, by the way, but, you know, it would have been great to see a Schumacher in the points. If Haas had pitted him, maybe, just maybe, he would have had a chance, but you never know. And then we've got Stroll, Albon, Ricciardo, Norris, Latifi, and Hulkenberg. And I'm going to sum up their races by saying that they were utter... I don't even know how to describe this. Terrible. That's the best way to put it. Stroll, I mean, the Aston Martin is just not quick. I mean, do you know what's a common factor of all of these cars? The Aston Martin, the Williams, and the McLaren? They all have Mercedes AMG high performance powertrains power. And also, they've got really bad chassis, I think. That is the number one reason why all of them struggled. The Williams, the Aston Martin, the McLaren. But, you know, they really should be doing better. Especially McLaren, you know. I was expecting so much from McLaren this year, and they have disappointed absolutely everyone. And I'm so surprised that Daniel Ricciardo managed to beat Lando Norris. Not only because he started 5 places behind him on the grid, but also because he got about as much days in that car as I have had days out with people from my school. Seriously, I am not a social butterfly, and well done to Daniel Ricciardo. That was a weird metaphor. Alex Albon 13th. Well done to him. I think he got the most out of the car that he could. You know, the Williams is really, it's not looking good this year again for them. Lando Norris was abysmal today. You know, he was really poor. But that McLaren was abysmal. Their strategy was poor. And then you've got Nicholas Latifi and Nico Hülkenberg, who both really struggled. Especially Latifi. You know, Hülkenberg, I get, he only had 4 sessions before the race. You know, he had the 3 practice sessions and qualifying and then the race, because he wasn't in testing because Sebastian Vettel was. And then we move on to the 3 DNFs: Sergio Perez, Max Verstappen, and Pierre Gasly. So all 3 of these guys had really good races. I think Checo performed well. He did everything he needed to, and he was on course for a strong 4th place until his teammate fell out the race with the same issues, with very similar issues, I reckon, to what he had. Max Verstappen, I think he did the best he could today. I think he went a little bit too aggressive, which made his tyres quite flat-spotted. It wore the tyres out much quicker, meaning that he couldn't keep up with Leclerc as such. Not only because the Ferrari was quicker in a straight line, but also because that Ferrari was better at saving tyres, and Leclerc is really good at saving his tyres. And Pierre Gasly, he was running right at the bottom end of the points when he retired. AlphaTauri would have got a good haul of points if both him and Sunoda had finished the race. However, that is motor racing. And now we have a look at the constructors and the driver's standings after the race. Obviously, the driver standings are the exact same, no need to go through them. In the constructors, for the first time since 2018, Ferrari lead the constructors. And second place is Mercedes, and Haas are third. I don't even know what to make of that. I'm just smiling right now because I'm so happy for them. After all the hell that they've had to go through in the last few years with financial problems, with having Nikita Mazepin as a driver. I mean, just nothing more than a proper thumbs up to them, a proper, I don't even know what to say. I'm lost for words because they've done so well, Haas, with this regulation change. Ferrari have done amazingly well with the power unit, and that is shown because if you look at the I think combined, out of the non-factory teams, the Ferrari engines are the quickest in the Haas and the Alfa Romeo, and that doesn't just show because of the speed that they're going at on the track, but also in the constructors' standings, because in 3rd and 4th place are Ferrari powered engines, because in 4th place is Alfa Romeo with 9 points, just 1 behind Haas, 18 behind Mercedes, and then Ferrari are just miles ahead on 44 points. Well done to Bottas again. I think Alfa Romeo are going in the right direction. As long as they can just keep being consistent, they're going to be a midfield runner this year, battling with Haas, Alpine, maybe AlphaTauri for 4th place, and I think why did I say Ass? I didn't mean to say that. McLaren, and AlphaTauri have done a full swap around with those two, because AlphaTauri, they're not as quick as Alfa Romeo. They are still pretty quick, but they're a little bit behind Alpine and Alfa Romeo and Haas. However, I did say if Gasly did finish the race, maybe we'd be looking at a different order, and maybe I'd be saying something else. But Alpine have been very good. I think, like I said yesterday, Alonso and Ocon is a really good driver combo. They're both really close to each other. They're both very fast as well. Yeah, I don't think there's much more I need to say about that. AlphaTauri, yeah, they did decently. They did the best they could. Damage limitation with Sunoda after Gasly's problems. He did very well, Yuki. I'll give him that. They're going to be looking to be quick in Saudi Arabia, and I think because Saudi Arabia is quite a similar track to Bahrain in that there's a lot of high speed, I think I think it's going to be a very similar order. And then we move on to the teams that haven't scored any points. Aston Martin are abysmal at the moment. They've really got to make some improvements at that factory of theirs. You know, Lawrence Stroll goes on about catering. I think catering's the least of your concerns right now, Lawrence. The main concern is the fact that you haven't scored any points in the first race of the season, and you're putting millions into this project, more than teams like Alfa Romeo and Haas, and yet you're struggling even more than them. They need to somehow fix this, whether it be I don't even know what they can do apart from replacing Lance Stroll or replacing a few engineers, maybe even Vettel. I don't know what else they can do. Same with Williams. I mean, the only thing that these teams can do is get more time to understand their car, understand what is going wrong with it, fix the problem, and make sure that anything happens except what happened to Haas in 2019, where they thought they were going to improve, but they just went the complete opposite way, had a dodgy sponsor, and it all went wrong. Obviously, that's not the case with these three. They've all got legit sponsors. But I'm really concerned for all three teams, Aston Martin, Williams, and McLaren. Especially McLaren and Williams, because they have such big histories in the sport, and the fact that they're struggling this much is really concerning to me. It's not even funny. Like, if Haas were struggling, and Mazepin was still a driver, I would be laughing about it probably. But I'm really, really concerned for Williams and McLaren, because if they don't improve anytime soon, they're going to be at the back. And then you got Red Bull. I mean, I really feel for Christian Horner. I really feel for the entire Red Bull team after working that hard just for the cars to conk out while running second and fourth. I really feel for them. But yeah, next round Saudi Arabia, next weekend, Jeddah Grand Prix on Sky Sports. This isn't promotion by the way for Sky. I don't think that they're very good organisers. So it's going to be the second Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. Obviously, same thing as this weekend. Same sort of, obviously same times with how much they get in qualifying and practice and everything. That's not changing. And remember, Formula 2 is also going to be on. I'm probably going to just quickly go through that. Theo Pourchaire did a very good job. So did Lawson. So did Vips. Bosching was consistent. Drugovic, again, consistent. Versure was quick in the first race. Had a lot of bad luck in the second. Same with Armstrong. He had a lot of bad luck in the first. Had good pace in the second. Sargent was consistent. Nissany was just dangerous. Same with the Ruvilla. Jack Doohan, I feel for him. He had a really, really good pace. I think he could have won that second race. Either him or Vips could have won it. Vips probably more likely. Jake Hughes, considering how inexperienced he is with Formula 2 cars, I think he did pretty good. However, there's one driver I'd like to particularly point out, and that's Ayumu Iwasa, the Red Bull Junior. He had an absolute barnstormer of a weekend. If he had not had that spin on Friday, he would have been fighting for the win in both races, I reckon. Because his pace was electric. Like, if Roy Nissany's pace was that of a Ferrari, then Ayumu Iwasa would be going at 600 miles an hour, because his pace was phenomenal. compared to all the other drivers, barring Yuri Vips and Jack Doohan, and Theo Pourchaire and Liam Lawson as well, his pace was amazing. Like he's probably the driver that I think of the most in terms of how good they were, because his race was phenomenal and I really feel for him. The rest of the drivers ain't scored points; they need to just improve. And all but one team has scored points so far this season, and that is Charouz, with their drivers Enzo Fittipaldi and Cem Bollock-Bassi. At the moment, Carlin lead the drivers. The Constructors Championship with Liam Lawson and Logan Sargent. High-Tech are second, with their drivers being, I'm just trying to remember, Yuri Vips and Marcus Armstrong. Then we have got Campos, who have had a very good performance so far with Ralph Boschung. And following them is MP Motorsport with Felipe Drugovic and Clement Novalak, who has had a bit of struggles, but I think he's going to get up to pace quite quickly. Then we've got Richard Verschuur's Trident team in sixth. Well, what I mean by Richard Verschuur's is, he scored all the points for them because Killian Williams is not the particularly quickest driver. Although to be fair, he was running pretty well. Then we've got Prema, whose sole point scorer has been Jehan Daruvala. Likewise with Uni Virtuosi and Jack Doohan. Van Amersfoort Racing with Van Amersfoort Racing with Jake Hughes. Charouz need to just improve. Simple. Thank you all for watching. This is a quick review of the F1 and the F2. Screw it, I'll do the F3. I really enjoyed watching all three series this weekend. And I think that out of all the teams, the team that's been most consistent in Formula 3 has been Prema, again, with Arthur Leclerc, Oliver Bearman, and Jack Crawford. Crawford's been poor. Bearman and Arthur Leclerc, on the other hand, have been absolutely fantastic. Victor Martins has been also very strong, as has Gregoire Saucy and Juan Manuel Correa, who I was amazed by. I did not think he was going to do that well in the sprint and the feature race. He did well in both races. By the end of the sprint race, he was struggling a little bit. However, he had an absolutely great performance, and I think he did very, very well. Then we've got High-Tech with their drivers Keelan Frederick, Isaac Hadjar, and Nazim Asman. Asman did not have a particularly good weekend. However, Frederick got a few points on the board, and Hadjar won the first race, the sprint race. A double French victory this weekend, with Hadjar winning the first race for High-Tech and Martins winning the second race for ART, who are French. High-Tech are British. MP Motorsport are fourth place with Kyle Collette, Alex Moyer, and Kush Maney. Kush Maney was very unlucky. He had a lot of pace throughout the weekend. If he had not had the penalty that he did, he would have had a much better chance at doing well, and I feel for him, but you have to get to the weighbridge on time. I'm sorry, but that's just a rule. And well done to Alex Smoyer. He was very dangerous in the second race, but in the first race he was very quick. His racing was a little bit dodgy, if I'm going to be honest. Then we move on to Van Amersfoort, who had a really strong debut with Franco Colapinto. He scored all of their points this weekend, and I made a tweet in February when he was announced to sign for Van Amersfoort. I was like, this kid's good. He beat Antonio Felix da Costa in European Le Mans. He did really, really well in the Toyota Racing Series, and I've been proved right so far. He did really, really well in Van Amersfoort racing this weekend, and I hope he continues this because he's a very quick driver in my opinion. Zayn Maloney 9th in the championship standings. Trident are 6th with 8 points. He's got 8 points as well, quite funnily enough. I think Maloney's got a lot of pace. He was taken out, well, not taken out, he had an engine problem while running 4th, which is where, funnily enough, he finished in the sprint race. He raced very well. I think Maloney has a lot of potential and a lot of speed, and he is a driver definitely to look out for this season in Formula 3. Then we've got Carlin, who scored their sole points with Zach O'Sullivan, who had a very, very good start to the race, the sprint race, but really struggled by the end of it. Same with the feature race. He had a good start, and then it all just went away. David Vidales did well for Campos. He had basically the exact same problem as Zach O'Sullivan did last year. Not last year, this year, this weekend, I should say, which was being strong at the start of the race, or should I say just being decent at the start of the race, and then just slowly dropping off, a bit like Jarno Trulli. Enzo Trulli's in the field, not doing particularly well, unfortunately. And then the final points, the final driver I'm going to mention, William Alatalo, who has been one of the most surprising drivers for me. He's been very strong. I think Gens have a really good driver on their hands. And yet again, the only team not to score any points, Charouz. But that's definitely going to be the end of the video now. F3 isn't returning until Imola. However, I'm sure we're going to enjoy it when it goes to Imola for the first time. I'd like to thank you all very much for watching, or for listening, I should say. This is more of a podcast than a video. And I will see you all in the next video, or not really see, probably, because I'm probably not going to be on screen, but you'll see me. But anyway, thank you all for watching. I'll see you all later. Bye!